Today's news. International appeal to government. Inullah Fatullayev prevented from seeing his lawyer. OSCE Minsk group to come to Baku. Youth activist Bakhtiar Hajiyev's appeal rejected. Azerbaijan National Statehood Chairman's appeal against extension of pretrial sentence rejected. Families continue hunger strike in protests against eviction. The International Partnership Group for Azerbaijan has released a statement condemning the recent arrests of youth activists and bloggers in connection with the planned March 11th Great People's Day campaign. The group is calling for their immediate release and for the government to cease restrictions on freedom of expression and freedom of assembly. Reports of restrictions on freedom of expression and pressure by the Azerbaijani authorities have escalated in recent weeks, as calls for pro-democracy protests, inspired by the events in the Middle East and North Africa, have gained momentum in the country, says the statement. It goes on to say that the Azerbaijani authorities are bound by international law to respect and protect the rights of freedom of expression and freedom of assembly, which are fundamental to a democratic society. The undersigned organizations call on the Azerbaijani authorities to immediately and unconditionally release the detained youth activists and to cease practices which restrict freedom of expression and freedom of assembly, adds the document. The document was signed by Article 19, Global Campaign for Free Expression, Freedom House, Human Rights House Foundation, Index on Censorship, Media Diversity Institute, Norwegian Helsinki Committee, Reporters Without Borders.
Lawyer Anar Gazimov has been refused access to his client, imprisoned journalist Inullah Fatullayev. Yesterday, Gazimov visited prison number 1, where Inullah Fatullayev was transferred yesterday. They reviewed my documents after I applied for a meeting and then said that visiting hours had finished. I told them that no working day is over at 4:15 and requested a meeting with prison director Kahraman Bagirov. Bagirov reiterated what his staff had said and refused to let me see Inullah. I think this is related to the press conference we held on March 7th on the secret transfer of the journalist out of Baku Investigative Prison and the abuse of his rights, said Gazimov. The head of the Penitentiary Service's Public Relations Department, Mehman Sarigov, dismissed reports that Fatullayev had been subjected to physical violence by unknown persons on the way to prison number 1. Fatullayev was taken out of the Baku Investigative Prison at 5 p.m. on March 2nd and taken to an unknown destination. After driving for 2 to 3 hours, the car was stopped and 2 athletic men in military uniforms got into the car. When the journalist asked who they were, they forced him to lie down. One of them started to press on Fatulayev's neck with his foot and told him to shut up. Fatullayev is currently being held in a single cell, as he requested, citing that his life is in very real danger.
Co-chairs of the OSCE Minsk group will arrive in Baku on March 15th to discuss the resolution of the Karabakh conflict, reported Azerbaijan's foreign minister Elmar Mamadyarov. Commenting on the outcome of talks between the presidents of Azerbaijan, Armenia, and Russia in Sochi on March 5th, Mamadyarov said that there had been some constructive comments. "We believe that process is progressing," said Mamadyarov. According to Mamadyarov, the 3 presidents instructed the foreign ministers to continue discussions. Russia will initiate at least one meeting between Azeri and Armenian foreign ministers. Some problems remain unresolved, but there are ongoing discussions, said the minister. Mamadyarov condemned the killing of an Azerbaijani child in the Agdam region on March 8th from the Armenian side. Mamadyarov discussed the incident with the co-chairs of the Minsk group and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. "A 9-year-old child is not involved in the war. His death should be seen as a provocation," the minister said, adding a further claim that certain forces in Armenia are resistant to peace. Azerbaijan takes this very seriously and will inform diplomatic representatives abroad as well as foreign governments and international organizations. The Albanian foreign minister, Edman Hajinatastan, also condemned the death of the child. He stated that Albania supports Azerbaijan's territorial integrity and called for the peaceful settlement of the conflict.
The Ganja Appeals Court has rejected youth activist Bakhtiar Hajiyev's appeal against pre-trial detention, reported Hajiyev's lawyer Aleif Hasanov. Hasanov alleged that the judgment was predetermined by government and judicial powers. He says that they will be taking the case to the European Court of Human Rights. Hadjiev, a former parliamentary candidate in the November 7, 2010 elections, was first detained on the 17th of November, when he tried to cross into Georgia via the Gazakh region's Girzimi-Korpu checkpoint. He was travelling to Georgia to continue his education. In fact, Hadjiev was set free a day later, as he still had immunity as a parliamentary candidate. At present, he is facing criminal charges under Article 321 of the Criminal Code for evading military service. It is widely thought that Hadjiev has been arrested for his activity on social networking sites and his support for the March 11th Great People's Day campaign.
Yesterday, March 9th, the Baku Appeals Court heard two appeals filed by Azerbaijan National Statehood Chairman Nemat Panalı and his friend Ceyhun Farzulayev. Both were appealing against the extension of their pretrial sentence. Both appeals were rejected. Panalı's lawyer Samir Isayaf told Objective TV. Azerbaijan National Statehood Party Chairman Nemat Panalı was arrested under an appeal filed by citizen Eldar Rizayev. A criminal case has been brought against both persons under Article 221.3 of the Criminal Code, hooliganism committed with a weapon. If he is found guilty, Panalı could face 5 years in prison. Panalı's supporters claim that the real reason behind his arrest is his journalistic activity. He wrote a number of articles criticizing the government, published in various press outlets, including the Nota PS.
Today, the Retired and Reserved Officers Public Union held a press conference on the hunger strike launched by the families of two military officers living in a military settlement in Hajigibol. The organization's director, Yashar Jafali, explained that the families were protesting their eviction from the military settlement where they are currently living. He reported that there were originally 51 families living in this settlement, but when the settlement was given over to an interior troops military unit, 49 of them were illegally evicted from their apartments. The remaining two families, the Shekhalievs and the Gabarovs, were not opposed to leaving their homes, but they wanted to ensure that they would be provided with new apartments of equivalent or better living standards. However, the Interior Ministry and the Hajigabal Executive Administration are ignoring their demands. The residents have taken the issue to court, which ruled it in favour of the military unit. As a last resort, both families began a hunger strike, but there has been no positive result yet. Adalat Gambarov says that the apartment allocated for them is unlivable. According to him, the emergency ministry has banned gas supplies to the building on the grounds that the building is too damaged for gas use to be safe.